forbidding stone fortress, still again a fisherman's shack. Near the door plate, before a tall window, an etching of a very handsome gentleman tiger stretched on the silvered glass. He bent down to pull a few beans and strawberries out of a negative garden. He wore a rumpled tweed suit with patches on the elbows and papers sticking out of the pockets, as well as a dark paisley cravat. His stripes and whiskers rippled on the silver surface of the house. "Visitors!" he cried when he saw them, putting one furry black and silver paw to his forehead. "Welcome, welcome! How nice to see a full-color face, or four! What can I do for you this fine morning? And if you don't mind my asking, why haven't you skipped off, like the rest of them? Good for your health, you know, such peril in being three-dimensional." "Excuse me, Sir Tiger," began September. The houses around them were all the same, silver plates with black images flickering over them, like shadows on water. "Oh, no sirs between the object and the gaze," he said, his teeth showing beneath that striped muzzle. "I'm the object, for the record. You're the gaze. But calling someone an object is rather rude, so you can use my name, which is Turing and not Tiger. For I am not a tiger at all, but a tigerotype. Accuracy is next to godliness." "How is it you haven't skipped off?" asked Al. "Where has everybody gone?" "They want very much to talk to a glass hub about the use of that great peep of a scope back there, but there seems to be nobody left in Azimuth but yourself." Turing the Tigerotype scratched behind one round ear. "What a funny thing to say. Everyone I know is still here. Azimuth is as busy and bustling as ever. I can hardly walk down the streets most days." September and Saturday looked around at the deserted cobblestones, stretching away into more and more empty blocks. "Subjects are cowards, is what I think," the Tigerotype went on. "It's what comes of having to pose and look one's best all the time. Me, I am what I am, fixed and finished. A little shaking doesn't worry me." A soft, velvet-shoed boom blossomed out of the mountain. Rain began to fall in thin, gauzy ribbons. "Might we come in, please?" asked Saturday politely. "If you and yours have stayed behind, we must find someone to let us use the telescope, and tell us how. We mean to stop the shaking, you see, and for that, well, we need to see, far and deep." "I wouldn't recommend it," answered the Tigerotype, moving like a film strip over the plates of the house and into the door plate. "If you came in, you'd be photographed, and that's a dodgy business." "I've had my picture taken," September shrugged. "It's not so bad, only you never come out looking quite like yourself." Turing ate a silver strawberry in one bite and looked a bit guilty eating in front of him. "You don't come out looking like yourself," he said with his mouth full, "because by the time you come out, you're not yourself. You've gone through a whole country, in through the lens, out through the chemical bath. Everything that's ever photographed does. But it happens so fast you don't remember it. It only shows in the photograph. The lines of your face, the set of your eyes, just a little different than you see in the mirror. Life outraces memory. It's on account of how memory dawdles and smells the perfume of a long-lost love, or sings the same song over and over again, instead of getting right to the important bits. Whereas life just steams right through, one thing to another, episode to episode. That's why photography got invented in the first place, to help memory catch up. I was a tiger, though probably not a Sir Tiger, once upon a time. A professorial tiger, with a big, predatory brain. But some fellow took a picture of me at the presentation of an academic medal and sent me into the country of photography." "I thought you said you come out on the other side on the quick," interrupted Al, searching for a hole in the logic of the tale. "Oh, most all of you does. You'd never notice the difference, but some of you stays and lives in the country of photography forever and ever. That's why you never look quite like your picture. When you're done being pictured, you're a new person. Part of you is living in the country of photography and not in you anymore. It's lovely here. All kinds of people and houses and trains and horses and apple orchards and smiling people and frowning people and old people and young people all together. Everything that's ever been filmed or photographed. If you sat for a great lot of pictures, there'll be heaps of you running around. If not, maybe only an out-of-focus background shot. And Azimuth, photographed Azimuth, is a metropolis. Packed full, the biggest city in all of Fairyland, except that no one counts this in the census. The glass hobs had a lens for everything, and lenses are for capturing. And they took more pictures like blinking before they bolted off at the first sign of worry. As I said, subjects are cowards. But your house isn't a camera, it's only plates, said September, her hair beginning to drip. The inside of this house is a dark room, and that's the same as saying a tunnel from one country to another. I come to look at the scenery in the mornings, though it's been ever so lonely lately. I don't know what the fuss is about. We've got 11 cider skins in country. They're harmless. Still, if you came in, I couldn't vouch for your safety. A photograph doesn't die, it only fades a little. We don't fear much. But you are very fragile. Do you mean to say you're not, well, not quite alive? Asked September, who thought better of the question as soon as she had said it. That's very interesting, you know. The Tigerotype scratched under his cravat with one claw. I suppose it depends on what you mean by alive. Do I seem alive? Oh, yes. If I were not alive, do you suppose I would sound or seem or behave very differently than I am doing? I don't think so. If you shut your eyes and only listened to my voice and didn't know that I was a Tigerotype and not a tiger, if you couldn't see that I am an image on a silvered plate and not a fat, roly orange and black gentleman with an advanced degree, would you assume that before you stood a real and living great feline with a noble constitution and an eye for composition? Yes, I expect so. Then I am as alive as makes no difference. I do all the things an alive thing does, said Turing. Do you know another test for living? September could not help looking at Aroostook. She changed by herself into sunflowers and golden hands and phonograph bells. Only living things could change without someone changing them. She drove herself when she saw fit, and she had said no to the blue winds, though that might have been a jammed lever, and she had to eat or else she would stop just like her. She had rights, if the king was to be believed. But September could believe a photograph of a tiger was alive more readily than that her car was. It's a handsome machine, said Turing, following her gaze. Do you think... September cleared her throat. She had said nothing to her friends about Aroostook and her changes. Do you think it might be alive as well? You seem to know something about the business, is why I asked. The Tigerotype roared laughter. Do I know about living? Do I know about alive? I know about seeming, little primate. I know about how a thing looks. It looks like a handsome machine, but then so do you. And I really wouldn't come into the house. I'm sorry you're wet and hungry, but if you stood where I stand and ate my strawberries, you'd come down with a fantastic case of mercury poisoning at the very least. If you came into the house, you'd end up in my country, backwards and upside down and black and white. You said, when a picture's taken, the body goes all the way through the country of photography, said September slowly, trying to figure out where her mind was tugging her. As fast as a shutter click. But that country has to be as big as anything that's ever stood in front of a camera. How long have folk been taking pictures in Fairyland? They've been at it for quite a while in my world. Have you seen a fairy city in there? With a great giant paw on display in the middle of it. The Tigerotype stroked his striped cheeks. It's possible. I can't be sure. There are ever so many cities in country. I think I saw a place like that when I was first developed. Don't you see? Cried September to her friends. We can do better than the glass hob's lenses. It all has to be in there. The paw, patience, even the fairies. If we're lucky, we can see what happened to it. When you live as fast as the fairies did when they could yeti away anything they didn't like, you just have to take pictures. Their lives outraced memory, kicked it and jumped on its head. But we couldn't really, protested Elle. You'd go through in a blink. The tiger said so. There'd be no time to look around. The Daguerreotype shoved his paws in his pockets. I suppose you know about physics, little one. They don't work the same way in country. Seeing is magic. A lion I once knew called Werner, photographed in a zoo for chess masters and scavengers. Well, he told anyone who would listen, but no one would. Seeing is magic. When you look at something, you change it, just by looking. It's not an apple anymore. It's an apple your friend Turing saw and thought about and finally ate. And it's worse than that. Anything you look at changes you too. A camera takes a picture, but the photographer can't escape the picture. She's there, even if you can't see her. She's the one holding the box. It's like what Candlestick said about Pluto. People see my clothes and they say I'm a criminal, September said, chewing over the physics of it. And I know I've acted like one, but only when I had to. Or when I desperately wanted to, she thought, a flash of guilt bursting in her stomach over what she'd done. The Daguerreotype nodded. They see you, and they change you, and you change because you've been seen, and you change them because they've changed you. I hope that sounds very confusing, because it's much worse in country. There's nothing but seeing and being seen in the country of photography. That's all very well, but you haven't said there's no point in it because we'd flit through in an instant, so there must be a way not to, said Saturday shrewdly, tugging on his topknot. Turing the Daguerreotype furrowed his furry brow. I should have to catch you as the flash goes off, he said, to stop you silvering right through, but I am
and
very
now you've
vivid.
done the mouth.
Strong image.